Hello, I am Ranveer Desai. You are listening to this, so it is possible that you may have consumed the previous episodes too. If not, please check them out on this channel. Welcome to Tripping Over Little Toe, where we usually talk among friends and acquaintances about their experiences. Today, we have a super special guest that I was saving for much later. Ranjit Desai, apart from being my big brother, has other achievements under his belt too. He is an MTech in water management, has worked on some water engineering projects in Middle East, and uh, and is currently having his feet knee deep in the startup game. He is sometimes identified as a photographer and a person who can be counseled over most things among his friend circle. I feel that some of our views are strikingly contrasting, and it is one of the exercise that we sometimes do to get one's idea beaten down by another. So let's see how this goes. First question for you: what was your experience with the corporate job?
Yeah, before addressing to that, I think I should uh, establish some premise or the background for that question. So, I passed out through my MTech in 2015, and I landed in corporate in 2015 December. I did my 4 years of service as a environmental engineer. It was an MNC, and after that, uh, I had resigned in last year February, and since then I'm trying to establish myself as an entrepreneur and do some ventures on my own. So that's a brief of my corporate experience. It's some 4+ years of experience, out of which around 5 months are spent abroad, 2.5 months in Cairo, Egypt, and 2.5 months in Beirut, Lebanon. So a little bit of experience in the Middle East. Majority of my work was related to simulations and hydraulics engineering and a lot of design work mostly. So that's it. Uh, can we have the question about? Okay, that was
What was your experience with the corporate job?
okay. So the corporate job was
Or maybe you can shed some light on how work culture here and work culture abroad
okay.
they differ.
Okay, so the thing is, if we are speaking of whether you should go for a corporate job in a positive light or not, I think one should look at it as a good prospect. I do not have any regrets that I spent some time in corporate because there is a lot to learn in that kind of a system. However, there are a few flaws and it does not suit everyone, and particularly I could not fit into that kind of a culture. That's why I had to get out of it. But there were a lot of learnings through the systems that a corporate follows, and the way things are managed, the way they are structured, and the way the work happens there, and the pace, particularly the pace. Uh, when I'm out of there and trying to manage on my own things, even in the Indian aspect or the local aspect, it helps a lot to have that kind of a vision, how things can function, how they can be managed, how resources can be managed, and all these things do help. But I would not say that I will never say that it's
A generalization cannot be made.
yeah, I mean it's bad for someone or it's good. I won't speak in that terms.
They may try
Because
for themselves and they
yeah,
might decide.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But they should go with open mind that this can also be bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that can be bad, but that entirely depends on
Their
yeah, your own perspective. I mean, 1 year into the job, and I was highly dissatisfied as to where I landed, and I could not utilize my potential or many things. But then the person who hired me, the my boss, he started developing me and he started pampering me because he wanted to retain the talent, and a lot of good things have been offered to me in that sense. A lot of good teachings have been imparted as a leader from my boss. Later on, a few things fell apart and we parted. But I mean, lot has been given to me in that prospect. So it's always like, I mean, particularly people who are passing out, for them, it's like what you are bringing to the table for the company, and then you can negotiate, what you want. So major problem is we feel entitled that I have a degree and I should be paid this much of the salary and they should hire me and all these things. But I don't think that this is the thing. Rather, for me, I was very fortunate that the job walked in for me. I did not go through campus, or I did not apply specifically for anyone. But despite of that, I would like to tell you that all this happened because I have spent some efforts developing my skills and the skill set itself. And moreover, uh, the kind of attitude that you carry while you are working matters a lot. Whether you are in corporate, whether you are working on your own, entrepreneur, freelancer, whatever you are doing, the attitude matters a lot. That increases the potential for you to get hired. I mean, I was at a position where I was also looking for a job. I got hired, and now I am at a position that I have to design the jobs for people, and I have to hire people. And when I'm looking at that perspective, the attitude matters a lot more than what kind of a skill you are having. So
There's a quote from that Thich, I don't know his full name. He said that you do everything as you do anything. Like the conviction that you put in simple things or your job even, that is your attitude towards everything.
yeah,
It may be your hobby or anything that you do.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the fundamental questions I used to ask was why I'm doing this. And if I'm convinced that okay, this work is contributing towards something, and always my boss used to include me in every project, all the details I used to ask him, and he would answer me tirelessly. I was the person who would waste a lot of his time in the meetings trying to understand very minor things, but he would answer, and that was the thing that kept me going for a long time in the job. And that is a major part where many times in corporate this is not present. I mean, you are just told that okay, this is your task, you do this much, and then okay, that's it. You are not offered any kind of a thing later.
I think love for work, maybe it could be lacking. If your job, if your boss loves his job, then you will also that he will also impart that love for job to you also.
Exactly. I mean, moreover, the conviction happens in work because you understand why it needs to be done and how it needs to be done. The entire thing, when the concept is, and this is not for everyone. I mean, a lot of people are happy. Okay, fine, you tell me this thing and I will do it. They don't need to know the details, or if you feed them that much of the detail, they get confused and bogged up. But there are very few people. I mean, it's less than 1%, 5% of the population or the job the employees who have this kind of a thing, which who do not try to fit in, and who have an attitude of solving the problem rather than
creating the problem.
And inherently, one more thing. I mean, apart from why, I used to look at, okay, fine, we have made a mistake here, or we identify this is the problem, and this was the thing I started developing after my degree or my MTech, or when I got into job. This was continuous development. You identify one problem, you get stuck there, and you start
block it.
You get a block. Sometimes you start reiterating, no, this is the problem, and I don't know how to. And the fundamental thing is that you simply can't answer the question to which you also don't know the answer to. So either you have to work towards finding a solution and
The
answer
unknown,
that.
unknown.
Yeah.
Unknown. That means there is something that you don't know even that exists. You need this thing.
Yeah, but moreover, the attitude matters. Okay, fine, this is the problem that we have identified, and we need to look at how to solve it. This is a very fundamental key aspect which keeps you moving, and which removes the block itself.
Willingness. If you will it, then you can do it.
I mean, I never think of a will as such. It's all that needs to be done in that situation. That is the very very simplistic and very this thing, but that keeps you moving. That keeps the job getting done, and a lot of things do not get stuck just because you are at one certain problem and you don't know how to solve it. And when you sometimes you are afraid of asking, okay, fine, sir, I don't know how to solve it, or you are simply afraid to admit that you are you simply don't know that.
Yeah, the failure comes with embarrassment.
Yeah.
That is also
Yeah.
one thing, and you are not taught to handle the failure.
Exactly.
That is also
Exactly.
one of the big things.
And but to teach yourself to fail is the biggest task when you are.
It is a
you know,
superpower to
Yeah.
love failures. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are since our childhood and in the whole Indian society, we have been taught not to fail
Mm.
and not to embrace our failures or many things, and this can translate from to worrying too much about I have to go out and buy these many vegetables. How do I do it? And that
Mhm.
starts from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyday things.
Yeah, that starts from there, and that goes up to, say, you are doing a multi-CR business and you have to
Mm.
take a decision, and how do I do it? How do I take that risk? It
Mm.
goes up to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the simple fundamental thing.
Mm.
But this can be broken, and I'm in the process of doing that, and it can be done. But I think it's not it's not a compulsory thing, in my opinion, for everyone to do it in this manner.
Mm.
It's entirely, I mean, I have my friends who are earning like anything.
Mm.
After 5 years of their job in corporate, they are very happy in their work. Some of them are not happy, but still it ultimately matters how much you can bear, and healthily, that too. How much stress you can bear, how much work you can bear, and you can manage all things healthily, and it depends person to person.
Yeah.
So I think the next question calls for it, no?
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a good segue towards that. The people might do their job, and they might look for. See, it is always they say that grass is greener on other side. So
Yeah.
you think that you are like fascinated with these things, startup, or should I do an MBA, or should I just switch my job because that will make things better? No, they will make things worse relatively. Like if you are worse where you are right now, you will get like even worse there. So what is the right time to start thinking in a business sense
I mean,
for a
as
person?
soon as possible. You see, if the business, you can, I think, thrive in business only if you have this inherent hunger to do something more,
Hmm.
or add something more to something, whatever your dream is.
The industriousness, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is not necessary that, you have to do something big.
Hmm.
It's ultimately, okay, fine, I'm not satisfied with whatever I'm doing currently with my skills and my skill set, and I want to learn more, I want to do something more, I want to contribute something more, and I have better capability than whatever I'm having. This hunger, simply,
Hmm.
वही सीखना है मेरे को,
Hmm.
या फिर करना है ये क्यों करना है, is that is one fundamental thing. I mean,
Yeah, you need to find your why.
yeah, exactly. And it cannot be designed for you.
Hmm.
Many of the things, the dreams that we are seeing today have been in the process of making for you for last decade or something.
Hmm.
I mean, I think the majority of this started with so a few movies, cult movies we have.
Yeah. See, the most impressive movie about this business and startup thing, that is Rocket Singh. I don't know, that is very like laid down simple movie, but it is a kind of glorifying those things. Like you are not happy the job that you are doing, and you try to find a way out that is glorified in some way.
Yeah, but I mean, even in Indian context, when I was in the college, the movie I was referring to was Three Idiots.
Yeah.
And that built up a culture of I think let's not go for a job, and let's do something on our own. But,
Yes. Yes.
but I don't think that's not at all a bad way to look at things. But the point that I was trying to make here was the dreams that we are seeing today are not necessarily our own.
Yeah, they are product of
something, you know.
your societal
Yeah.
upbringing
And
those things,
the dreams that you are seeing today have been primed into your thinking by some person.
yeah.
Either it might be your parents, it might be your colleagues,
Yeah.
teachers, the media
Or
that you are
your
consuming.
role model, whatever
It could be
you've
anything.
been
It could be
following on.
anything.
Yeah.
Now more I want to when we are going on to that topic, if your dream is actually coming from inside you, you have verified like where it has been planted into me, and you have verified that it is not an external source somewhere, which is it is coming from inside me.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
that is a very strong calling if you find that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
But how do you identify that? Like, see, you get influenced every day, and
Yeah.
one day you wake up and say that, yeah, let's do some business here.
Hmm.
Then
Yeah,
what do you do?
a lot of things are like, you know, the ideas when you start looking into it, like, you know, I have an idea, and I like to work on that, and I am very much convinced that it will work, and it is very we get consumed into that. And see, when you have an entrepreneur mindset or a mindset of an innovator or the personality type like that one, you have thousands of them coming up and going.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm asking, like, how do you call your bullshit as bullshit? How do you identify that? Because
Yeah.
you cannot judge your whatever you are thinking. You think that, yeah, it is the greatest thing that
Yeah.
a person has come up with.
I think the simplest way, and see, whatever, even if the idea comes from within you, know, it's not you are the only person who has got it.
Yeah, yeah.
So how to verify that is simply you have to introspect, continuously look out for, okay, where have I seen it? What has
seen
put
it?
that thing into me?
Mm-hmm.
Like you know, several ideas. I mean,
Yeah, go back to finding out the sources for that.
yeah. Where has it come from?
Yeah.
Where has it come from? And when you know, if you see it at Instagram, Facebook, news, media, some your mentor or teacher has given it, then you can straight away identify it, you know, because you are continuously seeing those things. When if you look at the algorithms that Google is following, even if you are talking in a room full of people, the Google will start showing you that kind of a search result. That this is a very well known thing. But now that way, these engines, you know, they devise your experience there onwards from that time. So what you consume, it matters a lot. And this is a very deep topic of discussion, where the idea and inspiration actually comes from. In the modern world where we are living at, it's very hard to trace. You know, but to be aware where it is coming from is one thing. But I think ultimately what matters, you know, how much you are convinced about it. Fine. I mean, you feel that, okay, fine. I've been dreaming a dream of myself.
How non-casual are you about
Yeah.
it?
And you feel that this is going to make an impact. Okay, that is all okay. Then a few things come up. I mean, when we go, I'm still learning this from a lot of people who have already. I mean, we have been talking about Ankur Warikoo, right? He has a beautiful course, you know, where he says, okay, fine, you have 10 ideas and how to sort them out and check their commercial viability or whatever. Because ultimately, you know, some ideas are excellent. There is always a time for that idea to, you know, materialize. Few ideas cannot be materialized because a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's not the flaw of the idea of the or the entire flaw of the entrepreneur or anything.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. Why someone has not taken it up, if it is, you know, there are always a few reasons for that. Maybe the time is not right, tech is not right, or the situation is not right. Something might be there. Most of the ideas can be monetized in some way, but the monetization need not be profitable always. Okay. That is also a thing. So you know, we have many startups coming up, and they are running for 5-10 years now, and a lot of them are still struggling to be, you know, getting into the positive numbers of profitability. But that does not mean the idea is not adding value to anyone.
Yes.
Okay. It's the ideas are valuable. The valuation in the monetary terms.
They are in a way making life easier for someone. So while not being profitable for the owner at the same time.
Exactly. So ultimately, you know, I think, see, the simple business is like even if it is not innovative, not new, it's simply like you take some risk. In proportion of the risk, an entrepreneur expects the profit. Expects, in the hope of a profit, he takes up the risk. The size of the risk determines how much rewards you are going to get, or how much of the loss you are going to encounter. This is a simple fund.
Yeah, proportional. Yeah.
When we look at the startups, no, they are taking huge risks, and then they are making, then they are proposing huge valuations and profits. But the value also they are adding is scalable. I mean, the scales that the proportions, when we speak of Zomato, Ola, Uber, or some kind of a service that these startups are offering, that's actually tremendous when you look at the number.
Yeah.
But too, fundamentally, when we speak of when should I start the business, as early as possible. I mean, if you feel that you are hungry, you want more in your life, or you want to contribute more, then business is one good way that you can also prosper and help people, prosper in their own lives, or try to solve their own.
Basically, create jobs is
you can also
in
that is
air quote.
creating job is
Creating employment.
That's in my opinion,
That's subjective.
no, not subjective, that's a collateral rather. It happens. It happens rather. Moreover, the focus should be, okay, fine, I have identified this problem that needs to be solved. It can be solved in a profitable manner, and it also contributes to someone else's life. That's more important than anything else.
Industriousness. That's what I say.
And
don't put your ambition in leisure, just leisure. Be ambitious about working more. That should be your aim.
I mean, see, the problem, it can be anything, literally anything, whichever you are facing. Literally, I mean,
any aspect
several problems which you yourself are facing day to day. If you look at solving, if you have solved it, that's very good. You can look at that solution and how to make it big, how to make it commercial. That is one thing. Or your friends are facing a few problems, and that also can be solved. And not necessarily you should be looking from day one about making it profitable. First and foremost thing, the fundamentals are there, how the business is done, how transactions happen, how many things need to be done. And this is huge actually. When you go into the corporate, you are probably blind about how things happen outside of that. You are secured in a very different environment, different circle.
Set way of doing the work. You don't know what goes on a company or on a that level.
I mean, what happens, an employee always follows a standard operating procedure that is designed for him. When you are in the business, you are designing the SOPs.
Yes.
For every person, for the labor, for the person who is your accountant, for your whole company operations, you are doing all that, designing it. So that's a huge application. That's a huge offset from whatever you are doing currently. A lot needs to be learned to design that thing.
Yes.
But fundamentally, I think the mindset that is what matters more than anything else.
So my takeaway from this question is that, just to summarize, that one can start thinking about business. I'm just saying, start thinking about it. You don't have to go out and do some business while you are learning in your degree education or something. You start thinking about it, like what can be done, or just prepare some business plan, or have some meetings with your friends, how this can be done, and over the period of time, like 5, 6, 7 years, you will get the hang of it. You'll have something prepared with you, or at least the time you spend thinking about it will help you when you are actually doing it.
I mean, when coming to that point, how it helps, let's talk about a little bit of setting objectives. Okay, and I would like to talk about 2 objectives which I set in my college life. This was regarding my hobby, photography. I started photography in 2010 something. I mean, it skyrocketed with when I got my first DSLR. But a few months down into photography, and I set an objective for myself. Okay, fine. I am doing it. All this is good. I want to make photographs which which should be able to hold the viewer's attention and move him emotionally, in a positive way, in a negative way, whichever is it is. But it has to affect the emotions.
Has the impact.
Has to have the impact.
Has to have.
Even if it is a fraction of second, or whatever feeling I can evoke in the person. That was the objective I set in 2011, I guess. And it's been what now? 2011. That's 10 years now.
10 years, yeah.
And with that objective, when you start learning, it is just set, forgotten, and I started learning photography, developing the skill, trying to understand what perception is, color is, and digging deeper into the science of visual arts. And all that theory, when I click nowadays, sometimes that kind of a photograph is created, which maybe sometimes it cannot be explained what kind of a feeling is, but sometimes it evokes some feelings in people, and that feeling is sometimes universal. I show it to n number of people, and they say the same thing about the thing, that it made them feel that way. And this achievement could be materialized just because I set that objective. If I had not set it, I would not walk that path.
You were trying for it, so that's why it happened.
This matters a lot. This is a practice.
Conceptualization of this thing.
We say it visualization. Once you visualize that concept, okay, I need to do this. Your brain is set on that. You start to perceive things in that manner. You filter things in that manner.
Yes.
You see only that, and you start walking that path.
Yes.
I mean, see, it's
your brain is smart enough to classify the things that is coming its way into the path that keeps you on the path to your goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. It's like, setting an objective is like, okay, fine, I want to go from Nanded, I want to go to either Mumbai or Nagpur. Two opposite directions. But when I say Nagpur,
so
I might land in Chandrapur. But half the way I have walked towards Nagpur, right?
Yes.
I haven't gone towards Mumbai. So setting the objective is that you set the direction for your thinking.
Yes.
So this matters. Second one was like, I was in my development. I was very naive when I was in my college. But I was like, fine, I need to have some kind of my own set of values by which I want to lead my life. I had a few selected at that time, which came down to my family and all this. But this matters a lot. Fine, I need to be truthful. I need to be honest. That is okay. Living by that, you start to practice. Okay, and when the practice starts, only when you know that you have to live by, you have to live by a code.
Yes, consciously you are making some choices.
And by the time I left my job, I was very well established in my set of values. That okay, fine. If this is the way that the work needs to be done, then I will get into it like this. Otherwise, I will not. If there is some malicious intent or anything.
You have your principles.
Yeah. So I set that principle in the 5 years time, but the foundation to that happened with an objective.
Yeah.
So that matters.
Okay.
So I think that is one more important thing of what in your what defines the goal or the objective where you want to take it. One more question comes after that is, okay, fine. You have set a goal, you have achieved it, you have walked there.
Yeah.
What after that? You set a new one. That's the simple thing.
But then means.
Yeah. Then.
If you are nearing the completion of the first goal,
exactly. Then you can fine tune it.
Play the long term game.
Yes. And in that term, when I have achieved my goal in photography to a very minimal % success, the next goal for me is, okay, how I can utilize the design thinking on all the knowledge that I have acquired.
Other aspects.
And how I can
yes.
Use it for all these things. Because the commercial aspect of photography is huge in terms of advertising, marketing, and all these things, and the way the perception that needs to be created for any kind of a thing. So photography is an excellent tool, and when you understand it in this manner, it helps a lot to think in a broad aspect.
Yes. So next question is, it is not a question, I just want your opinion on this. a business person has to work around the clock, so why would anyone choose that life for himself?
Exactly. I think this is the fundamental question. This is very personal for everyone. I mean, sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes why you are doing it and the drive that comes is important, as we have already discussed. So that is very different for everyone. And but fundamentally, this once you know this reason, you don't know any other way to do it, or you don't know any other way to engage in work, but the vision that you have seen. You are very well convinced that this needs to be done, and you will do it no matter what. If you need to work 24 hours a day, you will do it. But for doing that 24 hours of the work, the drive that you require comes from your own dream.
Okay.
Okay, so
But is it a bother? Like, see, the work as a as some people perceive it, it is like a part of their daily activity, not the whole life. They have not given their whole life to the work. They keep aside some time slot of the day. I will just dedicate this. They switch off that mode once they come back home, and
okay. I think this is fundamentally the question: why we work, isn't it? Yeah. So this is again different for everyone. Some people have responsibilities. They have to just do it because they need to earn the money.
Yeah.
And that's also okay. That's not a invalid reason to do anything. But a few people who are who are willing to throw everything at it. Why they do it is because they are very well convinced that this is going to add something to someone's life. I'm going to do something better in this manner.
Yeah.
And no matter how much negative feedback comes up, no matter how many times they burn out doing that, the only way that the person can stand back is just because he knows that it's going to work some way. And that the only force that keeps you helping you stand up again after you face a lot of failures or negative feedbacks or many other rejections, and many things are there. The only thing that keeps you going is
the drive.
And the drive comes from the inherent conviction that you have developed for yourself. No, this needs to be done. Why? You are very well convinced.
Okay.
Now for me, if you ask, the simple thing is, okay, fine, and there are 1,000 ideas that I would like to do, and even I burn out, and there are days which I work for some 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours, or sometimes I work from morning 7 a.m. to night 11 or so, and the work is not finished. I never did that when I was in my corporate job. But it's more fulfilling to me. Even if the work doesn't end up giving me the result that I do, but it's way more fulfilling because I learn a lot. For me, it matters. I mean, how much I learn through something. I'm wiser every day.
That is also one of the outcome that we are looking for.
And but since it is a favorable outcome for me personally, I don't mind spending that much of the time or failing.
So it is going to be productive in
no
any way.
So it's when one of my mentors, when I asked him in the very initial time of my entrepreneurship, like, who's an entrepreneur? So the simple answer to that is an entrepreneur is the person who never loses the game. I mean, you can fail in one event, one product, or one situation, but that does not mean that your entrepreneurship ended there.
Yes.
You still have that mental setup. You still have the energy. You still have your life. You still are breathing. You can do something else with that experience. So that is there, and this is, I think, the crux of no matter how many times you fail, to the point that you are breathing, you still can do, and you can
perseverance is the main key quality that.
And that comes, the work itself demands these things, and if the work is not demanding these things, you won't do it.
It is in a way. I also say this to many people. If it is not challenging, then you don't like doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why you should do it?
So in a way that it should be a little discomfortable for you, so that your progress is rewarding.
Exactly. I mean,
it has to be a little bit discomfortable for like every day. The discomfort should be there, then you feel like winning.
yeah. I mean, when you came to the point of discomfort, no, we spoke of hunger or the will to do it.
Yeah.
You know, that will not be there for the person who is spending his life in comforts. Okay, somewhere you are lacking, somewhere you are in the trouble, somewhere there is some problem that you are facing
that needs
that
solution.
is making you uncomfortable. And
Yes, yes.
to get over that, to get your life back on comfort, you do something. So-
Basically it is the look for problems.
Yeah.
So because you can solve or you want to learn how to solve them, the look for the problems that can be there.
Yeah, and with
Look forward to having the problems.
Exactly.
That
So this is an allegory for that is, so there are three types of people who, in my opinion, when let's talk in an analogy of sailing. Okay, sailing a ship. When you see a storm ahead, there are three types of people are there. One is he will see the storm, turn around, go away. The other person is he will bypass the storm, go a long route. He will entirely avoid it, but he will get on the other end.
Yeah.
But the person who will earn experience, he will be like, okay, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Let's head into it.
Yes.
If I come out of it, I will be rewarded like anything.
Yes.
So that's the kind of person who has the proper mindset for business
Yes.
or entrepreneurship.
Yes. Let's take the problem head on.
Yeah.
So let's come to the next phase. We have some very small topics. I just like we can discuss one or two of them. So first one is freelancing. Whether it is viable or what tip you can give to general audience for this is young people. Some are in jobs, some are in maybe college. So what advice can you give to them about freelancing?
I think freelancing is a good way of earning experience without having a job.
Without having job means without having the
salary job.
shackles of the job.
I won't say shackles, but rather, what happens when you go for anywhere. I mean, there are very few people who look at freshers, get them, develop them, and do that way. But if you are going for a big company, they ask you some kind of an experience, 1 year, 2 year, whatever it is. So when you want to say that I have this kind of an experience, no matter, I mean, you have it on your own or you have it in any form, not with a corporate entity, in any form. So to gain that experience, where are you going to gain it? So why does the experience matters? This is what is first. I mean, egg, anda pehle ya murgi pehle, ye wala question hai. So the thing is, unless you work, you won't gain the experience, and no one is offering you work because you are not an experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Vicious cycle of freshers.
Yeah. So now that simple thing can be solved with freelancing.
Okay.
You identify one skill of your own. You start interacting with people. Okay, you need this, I can do this, and you simply develop it.
Yes.
You don't have to sound as an expert to anyone.
Yes.
You don't have to,
I can also classify internships. Internships come freelancing in this sort of this space.
Yeah.
Like you can look for internships where you are not paid much, then you are not expecting much from the company apart from opportunity to work on the work, like work experience. Just that is your main purpose.
Yeah, and in that regard, I mean, when I was also a young person who was looking for job, I used to be like, yaar, free mein kaam nahi karna hai.
If you can do something, don't do it for free.
But this is a big problem when you are not having an experience. When you are expecting something in return for your work. Whereas when you look from the company's perspective or the person who is employing you, he's developing you from scratch. You are absolutely novice.
Yes.
He's training you. He's spending a lot of efforts on you, and still he's paying you. Understood? Knowing well that one day you will be leaving him. Understood? This is the scenario where you are tackling the employee. Understood? I mean, you expect a salary, whereas he knows very well what kind of a market rate for that kind of a work is, and that is where the negotiations fail, or that is where you forego the job opportunities. that they are not up to our expectations or what we have known.
So
or what
that
we have-
matching
Yeah.
should be done. Yeah.
So that is also there. A lot of misconceptions are there with freshers about jobs and many other things.
Yeah.
But I think on the topic of freelancing is something in today's age. It has given you a lot of scope to interact with people virtually, as well as there are a lot of platforms where you can display your work and start monetizing on your skill. It's a good thing. I mean, it can be anything: art, design, photography, or any number of
Yes,
hobbies you can have or skills you can have.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the thing.
So second topic is like creative skills or the skills while you develop them. Whether you go for the artistic or your creativity, do you explore your creativity, or do you look for a sell point of that, or like just see an economy and you go by that path? So just we can consider photography.
Yeah.
You can go for either wedding photography, which earns you a lot.
Yeah.
If I must say, and you can go for the exhibition or some wildlife photography. I don't know whether there's money in that or not, but these two are separate paths. So while thinking of developing a creative skill, what should you do?
I think I mean why I got into creativity was it's kind of a refuge for me. I mean, a lot of things are there which help you survive the negative circumstances of your life. One of them is engagement, and a fulfilling engagement comes from the creative parts of your life, arts or something like that. So when I took up photography, that was a really bad phase in my life. It took a long time, but that was a place where I used to engage myself, continuously in learning. So I was not interested in my studies or anything, but photography was something that kept me going, kept me engaged, kept me, do something, and it developed into something good. Still, for me, I know the commercial aspects of it, and it is very viable. But for me, it's kind of a sacred. It has gone into some kind of a sacred thing. I mean, many artists are there who have that, but I think holding a pen, writing is easy. Writing some words, but making that writing effective and selling that writing are two entirely different things. So writing some gibberish or just scrolling something is simply okay. But pen, a paper, and that writing is just a tool. What exactly you are delivering matters more, and that matters to you also. That matters to the person who are doing it, and that's the sell point. Now, say in photography, it's like when you look at a business itself.
When I look at this, creativity, you have created something. Let's say a drawing. You have done a sketch. If someone looks at that, and he might get some impression. He will have some change in emotion. He might feel happy or anything. Okay. But more about this creativity is what that picture has like affected you in what way. Like while drawing it, you are in that certain amount of time, you are fully in that task. So it has a therapeutic effect. So that is more of a primary objective of creative thing.
Exactly. I mean, creating anything for that matter, even in my work or that way, when you create something that is very tangible, you can get a feedback, physical feedback of that.
Means you must focus on doing it for yourself. Like do what makes you happy rather than looking for what other people.
I mean, a lot of my work, even in photography, not many people understand. But it gives me immense pleasure that okay, fine, I had this vision and I executed it, and it has passed.
Self-fulfilled.
So that is enough for me. I mean, I'm happy in that. Creating a simple print, it comes as per my requirements.
Yes.
And I'm happy for the few moments.
Yes.
And but that's the crux of creativity. Creating anything of that matter. Like you had envisioned something and you have materialized that idea, and that's your baby. So you have created something which is tangible for a little bit of time. So that's the pleasure that you can derive from creativity.
Yes.
apart from all the other aspects.
Yeah, because it is later, like after that, that that whatever is created or creation, I can say,
Hmm.
after that is created, then it will be left to the world, like just what you
Yeah.
want or
Yeah.
get out of it what you want. But while creating it, that is also giving you something.
Yeah.
So next question is whether one should acquire some money making skills in college,
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is an important thing.
and how to do that.
I think first we should understand what money is, how economics functions, and a lot of things are there which we can start looking into. Instead
be
of
be interested towards
yeah.
yeah.
Fundamentally, we have to understand that money is, it can be a goal for your life. You can make it rain, or you can make money work for you, and all these things, concepts are there. But ultimately, the thing is, you have to understand what exactly money is, why it matters in your life, and how much importance you should give it. For me, it always comes secondary. Secondary in a sense, my happiness, my health matters more to me,
Yes.
and for that, I need some money to do work and all these things. So that follows. But you have a primary goal of making money, and a lot of intent follows in that direction. Sometimes it comes, I'm not making this much profit and not money, then I have to do something which is it might not be ethical or moral in some other sense, but I have to do it for my profit.
Yes.
For you it might be right.
It is subjective.
It's entirely subjective, but that is how the profit driven economy works.
Yes,
but personally, for everyone it can be different.
Okay.
So money making skills, because simply the thing is, your parents will not last. No one else is going to feed you, so at least you have to earn as much as to go smoothly around your life.
The question was like acquire money making skills. Generally, when I look at this, see, if you are good at grades, then you are going to get a job. If you are good, like what college tells you, like do this, you will get a job. If you get a job, you have a training, you do the, like, if you follow a set path, you are good to go. You are good to go. But should you go out of your way and do some training or something yourself?
Yeah, I think this is a good one. You should. Entirely, you should. Absolutely.
You should not depend on college
absolutely
to develop your personality.
Yeah, and it's a very wrong expectation, in my opinion, that college should develop you and make you ready for the job.
Yes.
Their responsibility is just to transmit the knowledge that is needed. But your own responsibility as a student also is
equally important
to make yourself employable. And college won't give you everything.
Yes, of course.
So and moreover, talking of grades, well, grades can secure you some good high paying jobs, but it will not assure you the proper development after when you are in the job. I mean, looking at it, the moment there was also a third thing which I put an objective, when I was in second year. I wanted to be an hydraulics expert. Okay.
So though
and I have almost passed on. I have scored D. Okay. In fluid mechanics. Okay.
Yes.
And this was the thing I have taken up as an object. But by the time I came into final year, I was teaching fluid mechanics to my fellow students. I attained a mastery. I took simulation as my core subject. Majority of my job was associated with fluid mechanics and training and teaching people fluid mechanics, which I did successfully. It's not as if I scored a D, so I'm a duffer in that, but rather I took it as a challenge. Okay, fine. Yeah. So and it's irrelevant.
It is kind of same thing with me. Like what I do major in right now, those subjects grade are very very poor for me.
So I don't think that this is a very big misconception. I wish someone could tell me in that time but your grades are everything is simply a lie that we are living.
Don't give much credit to grades.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
we can say.
There,
Grades are overrated.
there is a lot more to your personality, a lot more to the life than the grades that your exams are telling.
Yes.
Okay. And I think somewhere we also as students need the validation or something, and you can seek for it. You have to seek it actively. No one is going to come to you and appreciate you for what you haven't shown.
Yes.
So that I think more interactions with people and more one-to-one interactions, they help in these things. So
being proactive helps.
Yeah.
So the next question was how rigid one should be about scope of engineering branch. This we kind of discussed in this also. Like if you are like civil engineering, you are doing civil engineering, should you like not look for other kind of coding jobs or something like that? How rigid one should be about the education that you are getting basically?
I don't think so. I mean, I had a different perception a few years ago, but now I think every job demands some kind of a multidisciplinary approach to everything. Doing civil engineering for 4 years and going for a software job, you say that your knowledge is going to waste. It's not true. It's absolutely not true.
Okay.
Because you learn certain things in civil engineering, you learn certain things in mechanical engineering, chemical engineering is quite different, IT is quite different. But each and every branch carries a beautiful thinking pattern of itself. Okay, that carries into your new job.
Okay,
and you bring a lot to the table, which your other fellows don't have.
Yeah.
But you have to realize what exactly you are bringing to the table. This takes time. Okay, and I mean, looking at it, I am a civil engineer, did my so much service and all these things in hydraulics and everything, and when I have decided to switch myself, I'm actually I'm
mechanical or fluid mechanics engineer,
Yeah.
something like that.
and I'm doing entirely different work. Entirely different work.
Yes.
Okay. So I think
Because see, the thing is that the job you were doing, whenever they posted the job, they must have said that we need a mechanical engineer in their eligibility. So
No, that was,
so you might have missed that job entirely if
Yeah.
you have not looked for the what are the requirements for that job.
So that is also there. But see, the job requirements are quite stringent. But once you are through, once you are through the selection process, interviews and everything, ultimately it also helps having a few other skills from other branches.
Okay.
You should not limit yourself no matter what in terms of acquiring knowledge, acquiring skills. If they are from the other branches, यार ये मेरा काम नहीं है. It should not be like that.
That attitude should not be there.
Because currently, even in my job, when I had to code a few scripts or anything in C language, I used to dig out and I would automate the processes and do it, no matter what it is.
Yes.
But that helps a lot. That helps a lot. That helps you in developing, helps broadening your own perspectives
Yes,
and aspects of.
Generally, I also think that the appreciation towards other branches also increases if you are lenient towards picking up their jobs. Like, see, if I'm an instrumentation guy, and if I'm not respectful towards like mechanical engineering students, like what they do, some engine or IC engine stuff they do. So if I'm disrespectful like this throughout my engineering, then while taking a job, if I have an opportunity for that was designed for a mechanical engineer, I would not pick it. So it just narrows down your the opportunities.
Yeah, that is also there. And fundamentally, what happens, when we haven't seen that picture, we cannot gauge it and judge it properly. And ultimately, despite of not knowing, we start judging it, and that results in dishonor. That results in dishonor to your fellow workers.
Yes.
And there is repercussion also. They will also not honor your work. So what happens when you start looking into someone else's work? Okay, this is that much complicated, takes that much efforts. You simply start honoring their efforts.
Yes.
कि भाई इसमें काम मतलब करना पड़ता है, अपने आप नहीं होता है. So that respect develops for everyone's work. So you also understand. I mean, designing a logo is sometimes a very simple task for a lot of people.
Yes.
But a few people charge lakhs of rupees for a logo.
Yeah.
But why is it so?
Yes.
When you have walked that line,
Mm.
you will understand why it is so. So since I have designed my own logos, I also understand if I am paying 50,000 rupees for a logo, what he's going to bring it,
Yes,
and what
yes.
to expect from him.
Uh-huh.
So that kind of a thing develops slowly.
Yes. Okay. So the next topic is unconventional business versus conventional. Now, how they can be categorized, or that you may decide.
Yeah, I think
Unconventional, I generally refer to the new businesses uh, washing the Ola is just a cab business, right? Cabs have been there from very long time, but they have organized it into some app or made it simple or accessible. So that may be categorized as unconventional business. So what is your opinion on this?
I think the where the boundary is, I think it is defined by disruption and the risk. Is it? I mean, what you are exactly changing?
No, I am expecting like something new. Whether
Yeah,
see,
exactly.
if you are looking to do a business for your livelihood, and you want to decide whether should I do a kirana dukan, or should I look for something that has never been done in my village or
I mean,
taluka place.
that's what I mean when I say disruption and risk is. Disruption is like market is used to something like this, consumers are used to something like that, and you are going to change the entire way that something is consumed.
Okay,
that's disruption. I mean, when you look at Elon Musk, it's a very good example of disruption. Okay, so he's entirely changing and establishing a new industry which is not at all existent.
Yes.
And he's doing it. So that is a disruption. That is a very risky game. Can be done. The rewards are huge, but that is an unconventional manner. And in a conventional manner, okay भाई किराने का दुकान है, इतने प्रोडक्ट्स लाने हैं, इतने में लेने हैं, इतने में बेचने हैं.
The set pattern you have.
Set pattern guidelines are there.
Yeah.
I don't think nothing is wrong in having any of it. Which ultimately the thing is how much you can bear, how much you can take on. Sustainably, in a sustainable manner. Sustainable in the sense how much you can bear. Because
for a long time.
Yeah, when you are going for disruption, you are going against the flow.
Yes.
You are trying to establish a flow inside a big stream. So the kind of friction that is created, society, the friction that is on the level of society, on the level of market, economics, everywhere you have to face it.
Yes.
It is as if you are banging your head on a wall.
Yes.
And you have to break the wall that way. So that's a huge task.
Yes. So if you feel like you are up to it, you are like, I'm powerful. So then you can go for the unconventional ones.
Yeah, and I think a part of it, it is a part of everyone's nature also. Some people are resilient that way. Some people can become resilient in that manner. But the simple thing is, you have heard that, no? Steve Jobs, stay hungry, stay foolish.
Yes.
The person who is not hungry, he cannot do this kind of thing. The person who is inherently hungry, always stays hungry, can break walls with his head. Okay, so because he has to, because he has no other way to survive, or he knows no other way to survive.
Yes.
So it's a matter of that. I mean, hunger, how much you have it.
Yes. So the next question is in line with that. Does business teach humility?
I think it should, but not necessarily. Not necessarily.
If you are doing the right things, then you might not go through some events that might teach you humility like life does. Yeah,
I mean it starts with personally. It does not belong to business. Ultimately, you need to be humble no matter what, even in your business or what. If the situation demands that you need to be humble, you should be. If the situation that you needs to take charge and be aggressive in some manner, you have to be in that situation no matter.
But I'm asking, what if you are not? See, if you are like nice-natured human being, you will fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
You do the job, you don't do job, you do anything, you will fit right in there. You will be happy. But if you are not, say you are a bum, then whether you are improved by getting out in the world or what.
that help. I mean, the simple thing why I'm choosing business is the amount of continuous learning that it is there. Okay.
Yes.
Every day there is a challenge, every hour there is a question to solve,
Hmm.
every minute I have to learn something.
Hmm.
And this is, a bit slow when you are in the job.
Hmm.
The problems are also there,
Yes.
but you feel that there are a lot of people to take care of them.
Yes.
You don't feel responsible for the problems like that.
Hmm.
But here, when you are doing something on your own, you have multitudes of problems which you are responsible for.
Okay.
Not responsible, not as in as in the problem is because of you. Rather responsible that you are supposed to solve them. No one else is going to come for you.
Okay.
Okay. So that way you learn it at a very rapid pace.
Okay.
And learning happens when it happens in a positive manner.
Hmm.
So you are going to you are going to go towards some universal values,
Yes.
and humility is one of them.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
So that drives you there
Mm-hmm.
automatically.
Hmm.
So not necessarily. Yeah, business makes it faster. Definitely, it makes it faster
Mm-hmm.
because you will face rejections at a very rapid rate.
Hmm.
You will face problems at a very rapid rate. You have to solve them at just we are talking of the pace.
Yes.
It's faster here.
Okay. One more question. The last one. Is farming the end game of professions, and by end game I refer to like the thing that everybody does at the end. Like this is the last thing, you will not go away from this.
Yeah, I think
Is farming that?
off the records we have talked on this. Thanos.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanos does farming after the extincting the half of the universe. If you are not a Marvel fan,
Yeah.
just a fact.
Okay. So when I look at farming, it's fundamentally a very simple thing, a survivalist kind of an approach. How many things you need to live?
Hmm.
So when you take care of air, we can take for granted. Water we can take for granted. So after that comes food,
Hmm.
then shelter. You can live without shelter actually for some time,
Hmm.
and clothes. Okay, shelter and clothes leave it apart, but food is an immediate need that you need every day.
But see, you can like you can get any of these.
Yeah.
But farming, like, it provides some kind of independence.
Exactly.
In every
Exactly.
aspect, like
I mean,
food, if you are consuming, you grow your own food.
yeah. I mean, I was coming to that only. See, these are the fundamental needs which we take
Hmm.
for granted today that they are fulfilled.
Hmm.
But let's say I want to take care of my own needs because I'm not satisfied with whatever I'm
Yes,
doing.
yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I have a full control on what I'm consuming
Hmm.
and where I'm taking my life.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm entirely independent,
Hmm.
and it starts from there.
Yes.
It starts from your food.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Later things you can develop. I mean, you can grow anything in that thing, but fundamentally you can grow your own food. You have the control on what you are exactly building your body with.
Hmm.
Okay. So that matters a lot. So
Okay.
if you can, and see, the thing is, no, ultimately it boils down to that कि सब मैं ही करूँगा. Okay. It's sometimes it's simply
It's
not
like
possible.
kind of micromanaging one's life.
Yeah.
You control everything in your life.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with the farming, you are not the only one controlling the outcome of those things.
Yeah.
You are dependable on many more things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's why generally some people fail doing it.
I don't think the failure is
No, the ultimate failure is, of course, the death or the disappointment leading to suicide. So that the after that
no,
failure you cannot.
I mean, even
go
in farming,
anywhere.
let's say we sow a crop and it doesn't grow as per our expectations, and we consider it as failure.
Hmm.
But I think that is more towards the person who is doing it.
Hmm.
It's not the problem of environment. It's not the problem that something is less, something is more. No,
Okay.
it's the problem of the very person who is doing it.
It is a kind of on the line that luck is not there.
Yeah, I mean,
what
if
you
you can,
do.
if you can account for what uncertainties are there,
Yes,
you can take a precaution for that.
yes,
Then ultimately, you won't be getting anything that is unexpected.
yes.
Okay.
You need to be careful.
Yeah.
Then there will not be any surprises.
Yeah. And it's not as if this is a very unfortunate thing that not many educated people
Hmm.
were there in farming.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this is changing after last year, probably. But there is a huge scope of optimization and micromanagement and micro improvements
Hmm.
in farming.
Farming.
And if that is done,
Hmm.
then there are good days for everyone.
Yes.
Actually.
Finally, Achyutan will be here.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming to the last phase. So the things that you talk about, like this should be done, or I did this, this is the way that I chose. Where did you learn these things from? Or specifically, if you want to focus on, where do you learn the business? Did you do an MBA?
No.
So where did you learn these things from?
I
You can
just
recommend some resources also.
yeah, okay. So there are, I think, in learning. No, I call myself an autodidact. So I teach.
What is that word?
Yeah, autodidact. That is like you learn yourself everything.
Self-taught.
Self-taught.
See, this is the problem with me. No, these words like startup or IoT. These are the things that have been there. Like, what is startup? This is nothing but a new business.
Yeah.
So the people try to use heavy words for the stuff that
Yeah.
has been there.
But
Self-taught is very easy to understand.
Yeah.
I taught
but
myself.
say self-taught are two words to explain the same
Ah,
thing.
yes.
And this is a particular word that is
Yeah, standard
there.
scientific. Yeah. I
So
get the idea.
so that's a thing with me, but that doesn't mean that I have done everything for learning that.
Mm-hmm. That
No.
word.
I mean, whatever I have learned, let's say I'm learning photography, so I'm not like going to the sensor level and building it up.
Yes,
of
course.
Okay? A lot of people have done the work. I'm taking up from that.
Standing on the shoulders of
Standing on the shoulder. But this is an important part because even Leonardo da Vinci, when he was doing something, he was standing on someone's shoulder.
No, but I'm asking specifically you, like, where did you learn this things?
Majorly-
May it be photography? Did you do some course or
Nah,
something like that?
yeah, majorly I read, I read in a very non-linear, organic or
Pick and choose kind of
Yeah.
that style.
It can be anything. I mean, I feel like I don't know how to take this kind of a photograph. Then I go and try
On need basis. Like
on need basis. Yeah.
you know what the end result is.
Hmm.
You just search for the means, like
Yeah.
how
How
should
to
be
do
that, how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when we come down to the references,
References.
Yeah. So one good reference is Simon Sinek.
Huh.
He talks of
Simon
in many
Sinek.
of his lectures. He
Hmm.
talks of know your why.
Huh.
Okay, but when you look at the process, whys, as I said,
Last one.
no, not last. It should be there.
Hmm.
It is the major factor that is
Yes,
going
yes.
to govern everything. Then comes what, that is an objective.
Hmm. What? Hmm.
Okay, why, what, why is the intent.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
when you go about something with an intent, no matter what it is,
Hmm.
I mean, you have been doing it intentionally. The why defines it. What kind of an intent? you
Yes,
have.
yes.
Then your objective comes, what you want to do exactly.
Hmm.
Then comes how.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, the process or the procedure for that or the path.
Methodology. Yeah.
It comes the last,
Hmm.
and then the
Yes.
thing gets done.
Hmm.
So when learning something is like finding the how.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, learning a process is like finding the how.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I have multiple sources. I read books, I read news articles.
Hmm.
YouTube is a good source, but I used to feel that I get a lot from YouTube, but later on I started feeling that it is harder to consume audio visual.
Okay.
Okay.
For most people, it is easier to consume.
Yeah, that's also what I felt
Hmm.
initially when I was starting. but to consume the content in the audio visual form, it takes a lot more time than reading it.
Yeah,
In a cons- in a
I
concept.
feel the same.
Yeah.
I used to watch Jordan Peterson's lectures.
Yeah.
In lecture, like he rambles on a story or some one small point that he wants to convey.
Yeah.
But while reading his book, it was like very smooth for me.
Yeah.
But like lectures, it feels like lectures.
Yeah, I mean, what happens, when you are consuming audio-visual content, majorly you have to sort through a lot of content. You have to go through it to understand that it was not useful, and a lot of you learn out of that. But for solving that particular problem, to find the content exactly that is relevant for
you
that,
cannot
spend a lot
skim
of
it.
time. You spend a lot of time.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
But for the stuff like photography or editing, these things, the video is the only way.
I don't think so. No.
Hmm.
I mean, photography editing was not just the software that I used to learn. A few tools where I was using for my profession, they don't have any video. So we used to open manuals, we used to troubleshoot our problems, we used to read through, follow the written tutorials, and do it the hard way. But it's I haven't seen any new age people doing that. They simply go to YouTube, search it, and they are like, search the tutorial nahi.
Yes, yes.
And I'm like,
I generally feel that see, if you are making something like Photoshop, let's just say that you want to design a logo. Generally people go and type in how to design logo, or if you want yellow logo, they will put that yellow in that search query also, how to design yellow logo. That, see, you can change the color on your own, right? So that much you can do, but that minimum thing is also you expected that you should get from the internet.
no, I think it's okay.
It is exaggerating, but it is a little exaggeration.
Google, I have this problem, please solve it for me.
Please solve it, I am very much in trouble.
Yeah, but I think it boils down to again that thing, understanding the fundamentals, understanding the concepts, and then applying them to your work. But
yes,
yeah, but
the hard way.
Yeah, that's the hardest way, but that's the longest way.
Yeah,
And that's the
sustainable
most
way.
sustainable and successful way. But problem with that is when you start off,
You don't get the quick solution, quick results. You don't get.
when you start off, you won't be arriving at the fundamental thing unless you do work, experience, fail, repeat,
Yes.
and do a lot of work. Then you will arrive at the fundamental solution. You can
Yes.
verify it.
See, all the people who have done the donut in this blender, this is for you. Don't do donuts.
No, I mean, to understand Blender, donut is an excellent way that here, and that is why the donut is so successful, on everything.
Don't stop at donuts.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Moreover, when speaking of 3D, when we go for rendering and all these things, a lot goes into the simulation of light. A lot goes into the realism.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to get back and understand the physics of light.
See, the thing is now, because you come from photography, I think that you understand that lighting and that thing, or how it will look, the Blender model, better than those or people like me, who have no understanding of how light works in a photograph.
Yeah, I that's a part of experience, and I think someone who has done Blender for a few years, he can do it better than I do. But having, without you even touching the tool, without even turning on my system, if I have to imagine it in my mind's eye that I need this kind of a picture.
Okay, you can achieve at that.
Yeah, and when I start working and it is not coming up to that point, troubleshoot that problem. The knowledge that is required is somewhere back on my head.
Yes, yes.
So that is easier.
See, I don't know how Rohit comes in conversation always. He used to say, if you want a web page, he will not say that let's see what can be done. He will make that web page in Photoshop. Like, this is how it should look, no matter how hard it is. And if it is hard, then you will learn some things like how to arrange this box here, how to get the font like this. So he used to have a absolute target, like this should look like this. And then he used to code it so that it will look like that. it is a like very like time consuming, but it is the only way that he could learn these things.
Yeah, I mean, this is a exercise in pre-visualization. Again, when we talk of, even in photography, there was a person, Ansel Adams, a big name in American photography.
Hmm.
He used to travel with a huge camera,
Hmm.
large format, and he would say, first you have to pre-visualize what kind of a photograph you need.
Huh.
Without that lighting condition to be existent there, without that object to be existing there,
Yes.
you have to pre-visualize how your print has to come out.
Hmm.
Then only you will work towards acquiring that kind of an image.
Hmm.
So that matters. That matters not just in photography,
Hmm.
as we have talked of, setting objectives. It is just that you at least.
But
have
also
something.
see the thing is that does it not make it inorganic? Like, see, if you want to get a sunrise,
Yeah.
so you plan everything.
Yeah.
Like, you will go on this particular day when you know, like, you have planned a year before,
Yeah.
let's say. So you plan those things, you go there, make a setup, you go there 2 hours before, make sure you are eaten and everything, and then you click the photo. So it is not like a surprising thing for you. You have achieved the thing that you wanted to. But if it is organic or organically
Instantaneous,
surprise,
you
you are going somewhere and you just thought that this is very nice sunrise and you took the photo.
Yeah, that's also.
So
the same thing.
so these two things, no, these two photos, they cannot be separated by the viewer.
Yeah, exactly. But what matters, it's not just picking up the camera, turning it on, pointing it at the scene, and clicking it. It's not that as simple as that. The simple process of making a photograph is you are pre-visualizing where and what you want to convey, the intent. Okay.
Yes.
With what intent you are going in.
I understand that with the organic stuff you are risking, like you are not sure whether you will get the photo or not.
Yeah, even in for the scene that is in front of you, how you want to represent. Okay, fine, you don't have time to think about it. You record a few bunch of photos, and then that kind of an intent comes post-processing. Okay, somewhere in your whole process it has to be there.
Okay.
It is there already.
Yes. Of course, why would you take the photo then?
Yeah. Because you want to show it to
Show it to
someone.
someone.
Rather, the intent can be also by I need to publish it on WhatsApp, Facebook, or print.
Let's go to morning walk.
That's also an intent.
Yes.
But majority of the problem, what happens while we are doing anything is we get stuck in the tool and the process. We never look at
the
intent.
house. Yeah.
We never look at the intent or not even the objective.
Yes.
Understand?
Generally, when you see anything, you ask, how did you do it?
Yeah.
You rarely ask, why did you do it? What is that you don't ask.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do it?
Why is the most difficult question that can be answered. But even sometimes I fail to answer that question to myself. But I constantly, try to develop that kind of an answer. What is the important part who everyone can answer, at least an objective?
Yes. What is the whatever the visible, that is the what.
So what he has done and why he has done it, I think this is a part of reasoning where our systems fail us to teach that.
Because we did not do that exercise enough.
Yeah.
In schools, or maybe that kind of, see, the give reasons was only in science. It is not in like your sociology or those things. No, the give reasons for world war. So they are what are in your textbook.
Yeah,
you don't have to think about that. They are facts. So you are not like thinking and generating the reasons for that.
But when you look at the languages, what we have learned in schools, that there was a beautiful opportunity which we all missed. Sandarbha is Spashtikaran there. Spashtikaran.
Yes.
But we
those
all missed
and also poems questions also.
And when you look at that kind of
that was beautiful, but the exams fucked it up.
Yeah. So but
the arts, the arts in school is very good. like 11 12th even English textbook and those chapters and poems even, they're very beautifully designed syllabus, but
Execution
implementation
wise
is
it takes some if the framework is not existing there, then it's very difficult for anyone to execute that kind of a thing.
yes.
So I think but see, it's about how much discomfort you go through ultimately,
Yes.
and that helps you understand the problem and be driven, be angry to solve that kind of a challenge. And I mean I'm not alone who is facing that. A lot of people go through the same kind of a discomfort through that system, and something can be done about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the last question is this: what are the, or we can take one more question. Some apps for managing the daily stuff, like how do you manage your business? Is there an assistant?
No, I manage it myself, but
Are there some apps or some tools for that?
yeah, there are a few things are there, but I mean to manage my tasks and a lot of things I have tried a lot, but I could not stick to that kind of
Routine.
routine.
Yeah.
So as it comes, I handle things. Majorly I have them on back of my mind, but noting down is a good habit. So I majorly use to note my ideas, I use Keep.
They're
Google
not
Keep.
taking app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the simple thing is it is uncluttered. You just open it, write down whatever you feel, just say it automatically saves and it is synced.
Yes.
That's a lot of things are out of the way. So out of
because that is important. See, the motivation behind writing the things down is that you get it out of your mind.
Yeah.
And then you can focus on the important stuff at that moment.
Yeah.
And then you can revisit, and if it is very important, you can revisit it later.
Yeah.
So that is the basic of note taking, making to-do lists,
Yeah.
or making some future appointments and
yeah,
those things.
and many times what happens, we make a list, we never follow it.
Yeah, of course.
That is
Everybody.
there. That is there. But it should not stop you from recording things, from making lists, from planning it on paper, because that kagda kale karna that matters a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of.
See, I always say this: you write the things and you burn the paper.
Yeah.
See, that list now does not exist, but you have created it. While writing it, you have put some thought on that. So that process is also important.
Yeah, that's untangling of your thoughts, putting them in a manner that can be understood, that can be conveyed. That's a lot of work there. But it's, I mean, the way I manage it. See, business tools. There are a number of tools they can help you in your business. But I think for managing your personal this thing, instead of apps, I would like to suggest
go analog.
There are analog ways, and I also call them tools, the methods, or the a lot of things are there.
Yes.
So they are more helpful than any app.
Okay, app as such.
Yeah, because apps you can find for numerous needs and as per your requirement. Like I feel Keep is okay. You feel that Notion is a good go-to, but I also have other stuff. I use this XMind for mind mapping.
Mind mapping.
That's a good tool. Some people can do it on PowerPoint. Some people use Excel. So whichever you are, the simple thing is the tool should not come in the way of your thinking and working.
Yes.
A tool should be always a tool. I mean, you should not be uncomfortable while holding the pencil. Okay.
Yes.
Then only you can do something with the pencil. So that's the thing, I think.
Okay. The last question I'll take. What are some starting points if you want to be a budding entrepreneur? Like some videos, courses, like some books.
Yeah, I think we can derive the inspirations from a lot of people who are already in the startup game. I derive a lot of my inspiration from Elon Musk. I also derive it from Leonardo da Vinci. I also derive it from Rabindranath Tagore. And there are numerous people who I look up to, for, I mean, okay, if he was in this situation, what he would have done. Okay. Not necessarily I have read their biographies or by hearted all these things, but a crux of their life,
yes,
that guides you, that's a beacon.
mm.
Of course, there are, I think, a lot of which I also haven't gone through, but for a business standpoint, I think I'm following a few channels right now. There is one of Sahil Khanna, the Intellectual Indies. He's on e-commerce and MBA.
Okay.
So he's doing some good work on that. Secondly, I think Ankur Warikoo is giving
Free.
away
It
a
is free
lot
instead.
a lot of
A lot than he can, like he should.
than he should, and than anyone than many people can take.
Yes,
But
yes.
but that's a really good thing that is happening.
Hmm.
What he has started, the personal branding he is doing, and the thing that he is distributing out there,
Hmm.
it is ultimately going to contribute towards the whole ecosphere of the entrepreneurs.
Yes, yes.
So that's a really good thing when it is coming in that manner.
Okay.
So that's and there are a lot of people. I mean, there is Kunal Shah, who also talks very frequently about his
Great guy.
Great.
Hmm.
And several other people are there.
Tanmay also, I think, is popularizing some stuff.
Yeah.
But he's in some financial kind of.
And investing and all these things, that is a subject matter. But depending on what you want to learn, there are a lot of people who are giving away the information for
Yes, yes.
free almost. So it ultimately depends on how much you can consume, how much you want to develop,
Hmm.
and where you want to develop it.
Okay.
So everything is, most of it is available whatever you need.
Okay. Any advice for young students?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give a very simple thing away here, because an institution is a very secure place for a student,
Hmm.
and a student has to look at it as how much I can derive from this institution in terms of my own growth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Going beyond the lectures, going beyond the tests, going beyond what your professor is telling you to do,
Hmm.
how much extra I can take out of it.
Hmm.
And I
Yes.
don't think that anyone is going to tell you a no if you are eager enough to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Rarely.
but that won't happen. That simply won't happen.
Hmm.
Even if you are in the institute or outside, if you are eager enough to learn, if you go with that hunger, no one is going to deny that kind of
Yes.
thing. But I think that has to be there.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have to actually suck out the capacity of your institution
Hmm.
as much as possible while you are
Make
in.
use of that thing.
Yeah.
See, generally I say this: the labs are open.
Yeah.
But they are not like actually open. No, you cannot go in and go out all the time. So students make fun of it. Like they say they are not open 24/7. What are they saying? 24/7 lab open. But if you take the permission, if you have a purpose, like I want to do a project, you take a permission from your head of the department or director even, you get that lab open, you work there, now the lab is open.
Yeah.
So so it depends, like if you are only making like negative the thoughts about it, that it is not open, then it will not never be open.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to use it, if you want to utilize it, it is very rarely it rarely happens that you are not given that chance.
Yeah. And
At least in our institute, that I can say.
and this is before doing that, it won't happen. It's in my opinion, that's the biggest thing that stops us. But at least try, at least ask. Go ahead, ask him, let him say no.
The general experience,
Yeah.
what happens, the people go and ask their teachers, "Sir, I want to do this," and their teachers like tell them to get permissions and those things.
Yeah.
Then they are like dissuaded, and
Yeah,
I don't want
but
to do
I
these
think
things. And
that's a formal matter. That also, as a student, you have to be getting used to asking permissions and doing the documentation and all this. But that's also part of it. If you are so hungry about it, and that's just a thing that needs to be done, which is keeping you away from some facility which is
Yes,
available,
of course.
then you must do it,
Yeah.
isn't it? Why I'm telling you this, when I'm out of the institute, even as an alumni, I have a very limited access to this kind of a thing. When I want to, try something new, innovate something new. So that limits you somewhere as an
Yes.
innovator.
Yes.
But while you are in the institute,
Mm-hmm.
this is a very enabling factor
Yes.
when you are budding.
Yeah.
Okay, and this should be utilized. All the expertise that is available at your disposal, your teachers, your infrastructure, whatever is there,
Mm.
you should go out there beyond the lectures, spend some time beyond the lectures,
Mm.
and have as much as you can,
Yes.
as much as you can, while you are a student. Because once you are out of the institute, you won't be getting it, no matter what.
Yeah. Like if I have to throw any statistics, 60% of people are not students after they graduate.
Yeah.
They are workers.
Yeah, I mean, workers is a very,
Yeah, because they work. Worker.
Yeah, I rather call them the slaves or the digital labor.
Yeah. Digital labor.
But that's just my
That's right.
perception, and this there is no bad thing in working in that manner. as
Yeah,
well.
if you are happy doing it,
Yeah.
even if it is TikTok, who stops you? Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bhaiya, for this discussion. We rarely talk this way between us, so this was a nice change. Also, whoever needs to talk to him, just contact him. He's oversweet in helping others out. Do check out the Organic Pride store. I will put the link in description, and stay tuned for new products. So this concludes the 5th episode of Tripping Over Little Toe, where we talked about entrepreneurship and many more things. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to us. See you later.